Good morning, friends. Holy ground, we're standing on holy ground. Nothing can divide us. Love will always guide us. Holy ground, standing on holy ground. Feeling the grace of knowing there is only God. And we say yes to life. And we say yes to love. Knowing that heaven is within us right here and now. And we say yes to life. And we say yes to love. In this sacred sanctuary we are one. Welcome home to this holy ground, standing on holy ground. Nothing can divide us. Love will always guide us. Holy ground, standing on holy ground. Feeling the grace of knowing there is only God. And we say yes to life. And we say yes to love. Knowing that heaven is within us right here and now. And we say yes to life. And we say yes to love. In this sacred sanctuary we are one. Welcome home. Can you feel the joy? Welcome home. Hi, Terry. Can you feel the peace? Welcome home. Can you feel the love? Hi, Jim. Can you feel the joy? In this sacred sanctuary we are one. In this blessed sanctuary we are one. In this holy sanctuary we are one. Welcome home.
Yay, Mary! Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning, everyone. We are here at the Sanctuary for Spiritual Living in Covina, California, and we are welcoming you to our Sunday celebration. And I wanted to start today by reminding you that you can make a prayer request at any time that you want, and that is very simple. You just go to our website at www.somchurch.org, and you allow it to, you go to the top of it after it's come up, and you hit that link to our prayer request form, and that comes right away to all of us, and we have 30 people praying for you. I also wanted to go back to sort of an old thing that we used to always do, and I have been missing. When we sort of stumbled into technology in March, we were really looking at just getting a service on, and we had deleted some of the things that were standard for us. So today I wanted to go back and restate our vision statement. And I know that many of you know this. I did not prepare anybody for me doing this, so David probably isn't going to get it typed onto the page in advance because he didn't know I was going to do this. Remember, always, this is the church that's happening now. But today, our vision has been for this community for 24 years, something that we have said on Sundays and reaffirmed in our hearts daily. So if you remember it, say it with me now. We are a vibrant, loving community and an inspirational resource for spiritual awakening and personal growth. And that is what we are. And so I want to remind us of that. That vision statement played into Holy Ground, the song that Mary wrote for us. And so I want you to know that that guides everything that we do, and that idea of community, that soul connection that is not based solely on physical closeness, but on the unity of the soul. That is what we practice here, because the soul is always one. I want to remind you that Carol Bliss and Greg Doris have services. Greg's is Wednesday, Carol's is Friday night, and they are at 7 p.m. They are also showing on our Facebook group, just like this talk does. And I want to thank today, we have David Peterson doing the typing for you at home. We have Tom Hancock and Amanda Enriquez here doing our sound making and video, making it possible for you to see us. Our music today by our beautiful Mary Ekler. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, yes, good to have you here with us and to be part of the good news. I also am grateful to be able to say that today our practitioner of the day is Jim Montgomery, and he will bring that essence of spirit to us that he carries, where he just always knows it's always going to be okay, no matter what. Sometimes I don't, but he knows how to pray for me. So, and for those of you that don't know, he is my husband. So, all right. So those are the people that are making this happen today. I also want to let you know that there's a reason that the Christmas tree is still up. And that is because it takes a certain number of volunteers for us to be able to pull the tree down. We have to have between 6 and 10 people. And you know, I sort of thought it was all right for us to continue Christmas rather than to ask people to come in, even with masks on, as the numbers in COVID are going up. We'll work on getting the tree down, but I don't think it's a big rush. And so just know that we could have Christmas in July, for all I know. But right now we are still looking like it's Christmas, and I hope that you still have the love that Christmas brings and the joy that it brings in your hearts. So with that, Mary, we have a chant.
Perfect time for this chant. And the light is all around us. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. And may I be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. And may we be happy. The world is filled with loving kindness. The world is well. The world is peaceful and at ease. All the world is happy. I am filled with loving kindness. I am well. I am peaceful and at ease. Yes, I am happy. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Jim Montgomery. I am a practitioner at this church and proud of it. So please join with me in reading the affirmation. I resolve to live positively as an individualized center of divine operation. I do not indulge in fear or worry. My right thinking controls my destiny. I radiate the positive and I rejoice the power of right thinking. I think only of the greater good for myself and the world. God in me as me always. And if it is comfortable for you to close your eyes or take a focus on anything in the room where you are, or focus on the mural behind me, and we will pray. God is all there is. Think about that for a minute. God is all there is. 5 words. Short words. The longest word in that has only 5 letters. God is all there is. That is the truth. And being a truth, God is in me. As me, I am part of God. God is me also. And if that is true of me, that is true of everybody who is not here, who is observing this, who is being part of this. Everybody. All things. God is. Everything. There is no spot where God is not. Being a God is all there is. You can't hide from God. And being grateful of this, I'm truly grateful for the practitioners in this church and the board of directors of this church. I'm truly grateful for the ministers of this church. I am truly grateful for everybody who volunteers in this church. I'm also grateful for the sound department. I am grateful for the music shared to us by Mary Ekler, sharing her God-given talents with us. And in this knowing that God is. God is. I release this invocation into the universe that we call the law, knowing that it is done. God's got it. And so it is. Amen, amen, amen.
We're so thankful for you, Jim. And we're thankful for all of you with us today. Do we feel like getting up and dancing? Shaking off some of the tension? Clap your hands. We feel you here with us. I can feel you here with me. Right here, right now, I release the past. I am free at last. Right here, right now. Right here, right now, I can start again, and I can make amends right here, right now. And I'm so thankful, truly thankful, for another chance to look up
Thank you. Thank you very much. What a perfect song for today, because it is right here and now that the creative power is acting on our thought of this moment. And so we are here today taking a look at life, and we've had events. Boy, is that an underplay. We've had events in our personal lives, in the lives of the nation, in the lives of our cities, our capitals across the states. There have been events this week. And the challenge is to remember that events are neutral, because I didn't feel it. So we have to remember that events are neutral and begin to take a look at what meaning are we going to bring into play based on the things that transform in our lives. And I know that a lot of times people will say a couple of different things when something surprises them. And when an event happens that either angers them or makes them scared, or which usually if I get angry, I've got some fear underneath it. There may be a lot of different things going on, a lot of emotions, and no matter what they are, we have questions that we ask, and many of them, because I notice that it's our nature to want to know, how could this happen? And the other thing that I often hear is, how could God let this happen? As if God would take back personal freedom. And one of the things that religious science teaches is freedom. It's based on that, the idea that the soul desires freedom of expression. And if you either have predestination or you have freedom of choice. And in religious science, you have freedom. That is one of our major core concepts, that you have the ability to choose, I have the ability to choose, and that as we use that, we create events. That's as simple as it is. I want to go through the creative process today to answer that question, how could this happen? Because, like I said, I noticed that that question comes up both individually in my life and in your lives and the lives of people I talk to, when something happens that they're like, I did everything right, how could this be? And I want to take a look at that and go to a deeper level of understanding how the creative process works in our lives. And so to do that, the best tool that I have is the teaching symbol that Ernest Holmes developed in 1927, put into the textbook, and has been one of the great ways of understanding God's nature. So as Jim said in his invocation today, God is all there is. And so this teaching symbol starts with a circle that everything is within. Every person, place, and thing, every event that happens, all happen within that circle, which is the divine. And I think that's an important piece, because I notice that people, you and me, tend to be good at being able to think in some universal ideas, but then fall a little short sometimes in our applying them. And one of the things that means is that we may look at an event or at a person, and we may say, God is all there is except for that one. And immediately throw them out of the circle as if that could happen. And so we have to come back to that basic, God is all there is, over and over and over. Because there is this tendency to say, surely that's not it. Now, because humankind has freedom of choice, we can choose to act opposite to the qualities of God that have been given to us. So that is a reality. We have freedom. If I could only act according and aligned with God qualities, I would not really have freedom. And oftentimes I don't know how to explore or experience a quality unless I can act in both ways. And when I act against those qualities, I go, don't like the way that worked. And that may bring me back into alignment or not, depending on who I am at that moment. So the circle, everything is God. It's divided into 3 sections artificially so that we can better understand the nature of the divine. And I think that's an important thing to remember, because we have a tendency, once we put those dividing lines up, we have a tendency to say, well, this is the highest part of God, and then we sort of work our way down until we sometimes will forget that the body of God, the created universe, and all of the activity that happens within it is still God. And so it's just God, the essence of God, the Spirit of God, slowed down to visible form. And last week I quoted Einstein when he said that matter and spirit are the same thing. I thought it was interesting he used the word spirit, but energy and matter is the same thing. It's just a matter of what is the vibrational level of it so that I can see it or experience it, or if it's more ethereal. So the top level of our triune nature of God is the Spirit. And we see that as the mind of God. It is a collection, and Socrates is the one that came up with this concept. It is a selection of divine ideals. And those ideals are formless. Now, we tend to think in form. That's the human nature. But these ideals are actually formless. And we have to be willing to sort of open up our thought pattern to be able to experience that. So if we take the divine ideal of love, and then we realize that we can experience that in a whole lot of forms, and we understand that the essence, the vibrational experience of love is the same, but the manner or the way that I express it may be about different things. And so I can have love of my country. That's one of the things that certainly was active for me this week, and I'm sure for a lot of people, and for what I believe that stands for, which is unique to me. There is also the idea of freedom and the idea of choice. All of these things take place in the Spirit, and and that's also where joy is. And joy can be experienced in a lot of different ways too. So you notice that this ideal is formless, but it is desiring to express itself, and therefore it's desiring to create a form to do that. The creative word of God is also seen as in this section, because that is the choice that the divine makes. That logos that says, let there be. That is the choosing factor that says, let there be this thing. Now, if there's going to be a way to create, there has to be a process, and something that facilitates that process, and that is the center section of the of that circle. And that center section is called soul. It's got 2 main qualities to it that I think are equally important. I'm going to talk on both of those today. The one quality is its creative process. It's got all of the substance, all of the divine substance that is eagerly waiting to become. And it is that then becomes the creative process that says, okay, you want love in this form, let me form that up and send it into the bottom portion, which is the body of God or the form of God. And so that doer of the work, soul, is the servant of the Spirit. That means that it doesn't have choice. Now, I want you to think about that. Choice takes place in the top portion in spirit alone. Why? Because if God could say, let there be light, and soul could say, I am so tired of that, Could we do something else? I'm going on strike. If soul could deny the divine word from coming into form, then there would be a clash, a conflict, sooner or later. And so soul has one answer, and that answer is yes. Yes. Let there be. Yes, there is. That's the answer. And so that then creates the body. All of the physical universe, all of the ethereal universe, everything that we know and experience, the events in life, all of that. And so that nature of how life creates. Spirit chooses, law creates, soul, body becomes. And body is the one part that is always changing. It's consistently moving, changing, and becoming. And so it creates form, and then it releases form. That form gets destroyed, and something else happens. And I think that's an important piece, because what we know is nothing is chiseled in cement, so to speak. Even cement can be broken up. And so no matter what has happened, there's still a process that's going on that's creating the next new thing. And I think that should be encouraging to us. A second part of soul that is extremely important for us to understand today in answering the question, how could this happen, is the collective consciousness that Ernest Holmes called race consciousness, meaning the collected thoughts of the race called humankind. Not a particular race as we have come to know it since the 60s, where we have been saying race meant what was my racial background. Instead, this is the collected thought of all of humankind. And that too is consistently changing, because you notice that humankind is consistently thinking, and therefore that moves. Now, that collective consciousness has a certain level of creativity involved all the time. It's interesting because it is both influencing each of us because we are connected to it. Everybody is. That's the nature of the subconscious. We are connected to that race consciousness, and we are our collective consciousness, if you prefer. And we are constantly feeding into it and also pulling from it. This is why you see trends in fashion. Because somebody thinks something up, they try something new, somebody sees it, they go, hey, that's cool. They do it, and then all of a sudden it sort of races across all of humankind, and you see everybody's doing it. And so that idea that we are both using our own independent understanding and being influenced by and influencing the collective thought is an important thing for us to understand, because everybody's influencing that. So, how do humankind create? Now, we know how God creates. God selects an idea that it desires to experience. It says, let there be. It goes into the law. The law says yes, and there is form. It's that simple. How about us? Well, the Bible tells us that humankind is made in the image and likeness of God. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that there's an old guy in the sky that has a particular race and a particular length of beard and a particular way of wearing its hair. What it means is that there is a creative beingness, not a being, but a creative beingness, a quality, an energy. And that it creates in this way. We are made in that image, meaning that we create in the same way. It's about our creativity. That's an important space, because when you start to realize that this means that the thoughts that my conscious mind selects, which is the equivalent to spirit in the individual, my conscious mind, what I select to be or to become, I am then putting into the law. And just like the divine has this collection of all the thought of humankind, I am pulling on that as well as the things that I have given assent to. And we may not realize what we have said yes to, because when we are very, very young, we are being civilized. I love that sort of terminology that comes out of the Four Agreements, the idea that you're being civilized by your parents and your family and the schools, and everything is conspiring to tell you about how to be in this world. And so that's how the raised consciousness gets communicated consciously. It also is being communicated all the time to us subconsciously. And we are constantly changing it because of the ways that we think. And so I, as an individual, think a collection of thoughts. I notice that my mind is really fast. So's yours. We're capable of thinking millions of thoughts in a very short time, like an hour. And we're constantly jumping around and saying this, that, and the other thing. And those thoughts also create our emotions. And the interesting factor is to realize that it is the combination of thought and my emotion that becomes my word that goes into creativity. And so when I begin to realize that, I recognize what is it that I might say? What is it that I might do? What is it that I believe? And when I am hit with events unexpectedly, whether it is a car that pulls over in front of me or something that happens on the TV that I'm not expecting, I have emotional reactions and thoughts about it immediately. They may be, my reactions could have to do with fear, they could have to do with enthusiasm, they could be all sorts of things, because they're going to be based on what I believe about life. And I think that it's important for us to start to understand that, that I have ideas about life. I have a worldview, and so do you. Everybody does. Baseline ideas that we think is how the world works or should work. And in some cases, it was Einstein that asked, do you live in a friendly or an unfriendly universe? And that the answer that you have to that question will make all the difference in the world. Because if you live in a friendly universe, you will be curious and involved and desiring to meet and be open to ideas. If you live in an unfriendly universe, the basic idea is that that somebody's trying to get you all the time, and that you need to be aware of that and scared, and you have to separate out and be and move away. So that's an important understanding, is to look at how what type of worldview do I have. And our beliefs, our religions and our family's beliefs, these things all have to do with creating our worldview. If I was brought up with certain ideas, certain religions, I'm going to have a different understanding of something. Let's take, for example, what is the will of God? In religious science, we know that we understand the will of God to express itself. That what it really wants is to express itself. It wants to express those qualities of love and joy, abundance, all of the things that are there, freedom, beauty, creativity, all of these things. That's what the divine desires to express through and as its creation. That's how we understand it. There are other religions that will teach you that, this is sort of, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, I'm just trying to give you an example. There is an understanding in the world that the will of God must be for you to suffer. There are religions that think that you should suffer on this life and then come back and you'll be all right in heaven. That's not religious science. There are other religions that say if something happens, it must be God's will. Therefore, if something, if there is an attack that has been planned and it is allowed to come forward, it must have been God's will that that happen. And that would act like the divine was selecting. And as I said, the law does not get to do that. The law doesn't get to say, gee, I'd like to do this, but not that. What humankind creates events. You know, we don't create the hurricane, but we do create the events in our own lives and the events that happen in the lives of our cities and country, states and country, and the world. So I also want to hint on the idea, Holmes talks about the mental atmosphere of a place. And he says that that actually is reflective of the consciousness at any particular time of the people in that city. So when you go into some cities, you see industry, and you see this active industry, you know, everything is bustling, all is moving. In some cities, you will feel, like Hollywood, you feel a lot of creativity because it is the center of the entertainment industry. And so you feel all this creativity and spontaneity and openness to new ideas and things. Then other cities you might find, like in this area, when I came into Covina, I realized, I did the demographics on the area, and I realized that we have a huge amount of healthcare workers around here. We've got the City of Hope, we have all the hospitals that are around here, Kaiser Permanente, all of the local hospitals. There's a lot about healing in this area. And so I think we need to be aware of the fact that there are energies in what Holmes calls the mental atmosphere of the cities and the states that we live in. And that takes place in each one. So when you walk in, you feel it. And I think when you consider our state capitals and also Washington, D.C., the capital of our country, you think about all these granite buildings that have, and then also the statues and all of the monuments, and each of those are symbols for something, for ideas. They're symbols for ideas. And consequently, if somebody does something to a monument or to one of the buildings, it is deeply felt because it's not just an attack on a building, it is an attack on what that building stands for, or what that monument stands for, and what we believe about it. So I think it's important for us to realize that idea too, and to understand that we may be responding because we see something as an attack on the meaning of the symbol. We use symbols a lot, and I think that's an important thing to know. If you go on your computer, you have icons. If you're sending a text message, you've got emojis. All of these things are symbols. They're not the thing itself. They are the symbol that represents the meaning behind it. And we have established what that means. I have to tell you, with some of my emojis, I can't get them big enough to know what they mean. So I hope you're laughing with me. But sometimes we may or may not understand what the symbol means or what it will mean to the person that we send it to. That could be an interesting idea. So the idea that we are creating constantly and that we are constantly being influenced by more than just our conscious thought. I think that's an important thing for us to understand, because oftentimes when something surprises me that happens in my life, it may have actually come out of the collective thought. It may have come out of a thought that I have had that has gone unconscious, and I didn't realize that I had that thought. Because it's become the background noise to how I believe. And I think an important question for us to be asking ourselves at this time is, my thoughts, what are my thoughts? What are my beliefs about about unity. What are my beliefs about this country? What are my beliefs about what I want to see happen next? What is it that has been stirred up in me? Because for a while now, nobody's neutral. Everybody's got ideas, everybody's got something stirred up. And we need to take a look at that. What is it that it means to us? I wanted, as I talk about buildings having meaning, think about your church. For those of you that have attended here, I know that there are people watching now that have possibly never seen our church other than what you see on Sunday morning when you get that expanded view of the inside of the sanctuary. But you might not know what the outside of it looks like. But if you do, if you know our church or have been here at any time since 1955, 57 when the building was built, you have undoubtedly consecrated the grounds in the building with meaning for you. You have probably walked in and felt a certain sense of something, which is the collective consciousness that has been established here by the people that have come here, have been in this building, have prayed here, have loved here, have hugged here, have learned here, have experienced an opening into ideas that they didn't know before. And you have responded to that whether you knew what it was consciously or not. That's why many people say, gee, I feel like I have come home. That's why part of Mary's song was about welcome home. Welcome to the sacred sanctuary. It's honoring the energy of all of the people that have been in this room since 1957 when it was created. And I think that we feel that sort of thing. We understand it. So buildings have symbol. And I want to bring up the fact that our state buildings and our buildings and federal buildings in Washington, D.C. are symbols of documents. Things like the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. They're symbols for the divine ideas that are the basis for the desire for a democracy. And I thought it was interesting, I just read that over the rostrum in the House of Representatives, it's inscribed, easy for me to say. This is actually on the rostrum, which is the lectern. Union, justice, tolerance, liberty, peace. Those are the things that the House of Representatives stands for. Now, do they pull it off well? Oh, heck, none of us pull it off fully. We'd like to, but we don't. But it's the goal that we value and that we aim for. Let me tell you those again. Union. Unity of being. Justice. An idea of law and order. Tolerance. A desire to be able to hear each other as we think through things without being reactive and without saying my way or the highway. Liberty, freedom, the ability to think in your own way and to bring conscious understanding to those ideas and to allow them to be questioned so that you can change them and you're not so so committed to it that you have not, that you have closed your mind to any other understanding. Liberty. Peace. To be able to speak without fear that you're going to be attacked. Peace. To be able to understand in a vibrant way that you are safe. Peace. The basis of a good, whole, prosperous nation has to be in peace. Because if you don't have that, you can't do industry. You can't do the work. You can't even clear the fields of their fruit if you're being attacked. You can't even feed each other. And so these are things that we say are important for us, and that people in America believe that we should stand for. I think it's important that we're willing to take a look at how we react to things, and and that we know that when I react, that is coming out of the beliefs. And so I can tell more about myself when something happens in the world. How could this happen is simply the fact that when enough people have a certain form of thought, a certain action will take place because they'll act on it. And so how could it happen? The law allows it to happen and facilitates it. There's not a justice, there's not a thing that stops that, other than the collective thought that says no to it. And so since the collective thought has been shifting, and it continues to shift, we have the ability to influence it and to understand what is ours to do or to think or to be. And we have the ability to notice what is of value to me. I want to share a story. This was something that Terry Thayer sent to me because she found it inspiring, and I agree. How's that? And I think that you would enjoy it too. This actually comes from Rabbi Ed Feinstein, and I think he is with Valley Beth Shalom. I'm not sure what city that's in. Encino, it's right here. And I'm going to read it to you. It's a good story. At a synagogue service one Sabbath morning, a Torah, now that's the sacred documents, they're contained in scrolls, a Torah rolled off the table and fell to the floor. This is like major. It was this is like the flag being thrown on the ground. Okay, except for that, it was an accident. Completely unintentional. Nevertheless, there was shocked silence for some moments. The Torah is sacred, the most sacred object of our faith. To see it fall to the floor was a desecration, a violation. It was then that the wise rabbi rose to bring us back together. The scroll, he explained, sacred as it may be, is a symbol, just like the other symbols that I've been talking about today. What is truly sacred are the words recorded within it and the community that gathers for learning. An atonement must be offered, and the best atonement, declared the rabbi, is a rededication of the community to the Word, to the sacred task of learning and living the Torah. See, the Torah as a piece of, as a scroll of sacred words would mean nothing if no one read it. It would mean nothing if nobody took those words and took them in and acted upon them in their lives. If they couldn't understand or couldn't activate that understanding or that direction in their lives in an active way, it would mean nothing. Rabbi Ed Feinstein goes on, he says, I remembered that moment, that lesson, as I watched the news yesterday. Like so many, I watched in shocked silence. The U.S. Capitol is not sacred like a Torah scroll. Although walking about that building, one feels a sense of reverence. The Capitol is a symbol of our democracy and the struggles of our ancestors to create and preserve it. Democracy, in turn, is an affirmation of the dignity each human being deserves, the inalienable rights to life and liberty, our drive to shape a just and compassionate society. In that sense, democracy is sacred. As the grandchild of immigrants who fled pogroms and survived a Holocaust, I feel this deeply. That's why yesterday's events were so shocking. Yesterday we witnessed a desecration, a violation, an assault on what we hold sacred. Democracy is fragile. The ancient Greeks didn't favor democracy because they believed no democracy could last. Eventually, human passions overwhelm reason, and democracy would morph into tyranny. The American founding fathers understood this. They constructed our democracy with safeguards to protect us from our own worst impulses. But even with all our safeguards, democracy depends upon willing acceptance of a set of values and behaviors on the part of all citizens and leaders alike. This civic morality is not legislated, not encoded in law or statute, not enforced by authority. It is understood and accepted as the code we all live by. When that civic morality is violated, the pillars of democracy waver. Yesterday we felt that tremor, and that has left us shaken. The rabbi was right. An atonement must be offered. An act of rededication is called for. Usually your rabbi invites you to learn the Torah. Today, I ask you to read some American Torah, the sacred words that have made America great, words that bring a rededication to the civic morality of our democracy. Read these words. Hear their passion, and then ask God's blessing upon our country. He's inviting us to review the Constitution so that we know what it is that we really stand for. He's inviting us to review the Declaration of Independence, to review the Bill of Rights, to take a look at some of the great speeches and some of the great writing that has happened by leaders that have set the tone for what America is. People like Washington, in his letter to a congregation in Newport that guaranteed them the freedom of religion, was to a Jewish congregation, guaranteeing them that they would be honored in the same way that a Christian congregation would be. Things like Washington's farewell address, things like Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, his second inauguration address, things like John F. Kennedy's inauguration address, things like Martin Luther King's speeches and books, things like Frederick Douglass's life story and the things that he could say about the value of freedom. Things like Howard Thurman and the things that he said. I want you to hear how across the board great minds feel and hear that liberty is something that is important, that democracy is something worth learning about and then living from. If you say, but the Constitution guarantees me the right not to wear a mask, I want you to know that's not in the Constitution. I want you to know that the Constitution guarantees us a certain level of freedom, but also guarantees us that we need to take care of each other. And so we want to be assured of what it is that we are talking about, what it means to be free, and where that freedom has restriction so that we can live safely with each other. One of the things that I also want you to give some thought to, as you look at how do your beliefs either add to a sense of unity or take away from that and add to a sense of separation and division. I want you to know that when you find that you have a belief or a reaction that separates, that is going into the race consciousness and providing for divisiveness and separation. Be willing to seek to understand what is being said by people that have different opinions. Be willing to grow from your interactions with each other. Be willing to know what you believe and what you stand for. Be willing to be able to articulate it, and be willing to be able to listen to someone else. I think these are things that are important for us. Howard Thurman wrote an interesting statement. He said, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Now that's an interesting space, because we all think, well, shouldn't I be saying, what does the world need me to become so that I can do the right thing? But he says, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive. And go and do that thing. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. So ask ourselves, what is mine? What is mine to do? What is mine to give? What is mine to honor? What is it that these buildings mean to me? What is it that these words, these documents mean to me? What is it that democracy means to me? What is my understanding of it? Because it is only by our educating ourselves and being willing to dedicate ourselves to things that are greater than we are that we change the race consciousness for the good. And in changing the race consciousness for the good and towards unity and towards tolerance, the things that the Senate has said that it stands for, by being willing to change more and more towards that, we make the pool of thought that are those things bigger, and they're easier for others to step into. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Mary.
Yes, Reverend Chris. Thank you. My friends, for those of you that have attended services here in our beloved sanctuary, towards the end of each service, we typically gather in a circle. I can see all of you walking to that circle around the seats in the sanctuary, and we hold hands and we pray for peace. So they're at home today. If you're with someone that you can hold hands with, or hold your own hand or give yourself a big hug, let's join hands as we sing this beautiful, beautiful song for peace. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our power, loved ones all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. I want you to remember that what you think matters. It goes into the race consciousness. And that's what changes it. That's what will move it from divisiveness to union. That is what will take it from conflict and insurrection to support. And your individual thought matters. Let's take a moment to pray. I simply invite you to center in. Howard Thurman said, how good to center down. Taking that deep breath to know gently and easily that God is present. To sense and know and feel the divine presence. For it is here, that deep love that is the divine vibration, the peace and safety of this moment. To know God as the source of all. And to see these divine qualities of unity, love, freedom, acceptance, peace, compassion, abundance, so much more. For God present in this very moment is that divine energy that is love. It is that loving presence fully embracing each and all. That deep love that knows that there is no other, there is only the great compassion of the divine. It's only God showing up in all of its amazing disguises. God, present as that is the great passion of the universe, the desire to create something. Always that spark, that passion that says, let there be, and begins that creative process and becomes that has been stated. God present right here and now, one life, one love, one peace, one joy, demonstrated in a multitude of ways, and all interconnected. For the divine is that vitality that is contained in every single cell of creation. It is that vibrates through all of life, in every individual, in all situations. It's in every single particle, cell, all. For there's nothing else to be created from, only God. I know the divine is a peace that passes understanding, not necessarily the peace that we look for, but a peace that knows the presence of God in every situation, no matter what it might be, that God is there. gently. I know God present everywhere, all-knowing, all-powerful. It is the only creative power there is. We individualize it, we use it. It is the same creative power that made the entire cosmos. It is individualized by our use, for we are made in the image and likeness of God. We are creator beings in the same manner, using the same law. And we create our country, we create our cities, we create our homes, our families, all from consciousness. And as we are pulling from the consciousness of love, we create more of it. And so I know this day that each one of us is powerful beyond measure. That each one of us is free to create new, to realign what we believe, to choose new ideas, to expand our thinking, to release things that no longer serve us, and to move into alignment with greater ideals. In this moment, I speak a word for each one that is hearing this prayer, knowing that each one is filled with that is the love of the divine, that it radiates out to be the love of self, the love of family, the love of neighborhood and city, of state and of country, that it radiates throughout the world. I know there is a light in what has appeared to be darkness, and that light expands in the minds and hearts of each and every person. That light is the light of truth, of peace, of liberty, that light expands into this world in a way that allows for it to shine. For Jesus said, do not put a bushel on your light, but let it shine so that all may benefit from it. And so we realize that light is within us, and that it guides us and directs us to what is ours to do and what is not. I know in this moment that God, moving in mysterious ways, is bringing a higher understanding as people open individually and collectively to new ways of being, to new thoughts that reaffirm the ideals of this country, and begin the healing and repairing that is necessary as we make the atonement so that the sacred is reestablished. In this moment, I am claiming that vitality of being for each individual. I'm claiming the good that allows for healing. And in this moment, I am speaking a word of special attention to not just our federal and state and local governments, but also to the people in the healthcare system. For I know that these valiant people that stand as a resource for health and vitality are filled with the energy of God, that is God working through them, that their hands are God's hands as they deal with the people that come asking for healing. And I know that each person that may be affected, either in a way that shows no symptoms or a way that is called the long haul of COVID, that each one is part of that energy of life and of love, that each one is important, and each one has family and friends that they are connected to, and that their soul is uplifted by those connections and by prayer. I speak a word about the ability to love ourselves and to love one another. For we need to be doing this. And so we are about our Father's business, our Mother's business, the business of the divine. That Father, Mother, God that is love itself. Speak a word of blessing on each and every person that was in the Capitol in fear for their lives. A word of blessing for each person that passed away and for their families. A word of blessing to the people that were hurt and healing to them. And I know that out of this that appears to be chaos, there comes order, law, transformation. And the phoenix rises again. I speak a word of blessing to every person in this country and in this world that has been affected by these events. I speak a word of blessing for this planet that we live on, for this is our home. This beautiful blue pearl that spins in space and moves with grace. I know it is rejuvenating itself. I speak a word of blessing for that quality of humankind that desires connection, relationship with the divine. That part of the brain that lights up when we meditate and pray. For this has been the inspiration for religion all around the world. Speak a word of blessing on this, our sanctuary for spiritual living, for it is here that we learn and move and expand and connect and know our oneness. It is here that we transform. And it is here that we experience spiritual community, the idea of being connected even at a distance. For we know that we are one life, connected, and experience that love. In this moment, we know there is great work for us to do. And so we simply ask to be prepared.
Lord, prepare to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
With a great sense of gratitude for the life of God that lives itself as our lives now. A deep sense of thanksgiving for that creative power, the soul, the law that brings forward creativity. And for this life that we live, the form, the body of God, for all of it is whole and holy being. I give thanks for the good that comes from this day. And so with a deep sense of gratitude for all that is, I simply release this gently with love into the law, knowing that in peace it's done. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. It's time now for our offering, and I want to thank everybody that has participated in the support of this sanctuary. Your gifts have made it possible for us to stay and do everything we're supposed to be doing. So we are fully supported by your gifts. I want to thank you for being willing to share with us. I also want to thank those of you that could share resources. I have begun the process of passing your gifts on to people that have been able to cover things that they would not have been able to do. There's been 4 people already that have received gifts of significant amounts. You have touched them deeply in the way that you care. And there are still funds that are going to assist several more people. So I just want to thank you for being willing to share what is your overflow, not only with our church so that we may be established, but with our community. That said, let's take a moment to hold our offering in our hands and say with me our sharing affirmation. From the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and bless and prosper. It is evidence of my faith and belief. It does good work in the world and returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. And so I want to say thank you. Remind you that if you would like to give online, you can do that on our website, or you can mail a check or have your bank mail a check to the church. Or you can drive one by and put it through our mail slot or our front doors. And I thank you for all the ways that you give. Mary?
Love is everywhere, my friends. Love is everywhere. I see it. You are all that you can be. Go on and be it. Life is perfect. I believe it. Come and play the game with me. Open yourself to the first celebration. Open your eyes to the joy and the pain. Life is the fruit of your own creation. Every new birth is a soul regained. Well, love is everywhere. I see it. You are all that you can be. Go on and be it. Life is perfect. I believe it. Come and play the game with me. Drinking my life from a silver fountain. Sweet water running to the cold salt sea. Old man moon on a white top mountain. Sound of the wind singing dreams for me. Woo! Love is everywhere. I see it. You are all that you can be. Go on and be it. Life is perfect. I believe it. Come and play the game with me. Well, follow your heart like a flying stallion. Race with the sun to the edge of night. Form your truth like a gold medallion. Dance in the circle of love and the light. Love is everywhere. I see it. You are all that you can be. Go on and be it. Life is perfect. I believe it. Come and play the game with me. Come and play the game with me. Oh, come and play the game with me. Thank you, everybody.
All right. We have a couple of thank yous to make today. I want to say thank you very much to Mary. Wonderful music, fabulous choices. All right. Also, our practitioner, Jim Montgomery, thank you for setting a tone that allowed us to speak honestly with each other today. Also want to say thank you to David Peterson for all of his typing at home, letting you know that what's up. And also Tom and Amanda. We wouldn't be here without them because they are the ones that make it happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. Play the game with me.